to with our wonderful guest from Puglia, Italy, Robert Pardi. Robert has written many books. And Robert, I was working with a young man yesterday. He's only in his early 20s and highly creative. He's a painter, he's a musician, and we were talking about as a life coach. I was talking to him about his passion and what does he want to write music about. And I know I've written 6 books, or however many I've written, and I knew that as I was writing them, that I really wasn't writing them for the public. I was
Yes.
writing them for me first. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
way it is. And when you look at musicians, when they're writing songs about they've lost a love or they've lost a child or whatever, then and they're really writing about their pain. So let me ask you this question: um, What healing took place for you as you were writing your books?
Beautiful question. So first, I do want to acknowledge that anyone that is interested in writing or any sort of artistic expression, first of all, it is self-expression. So it's no failure in and of itself. Don't focus on selling it or the audience. You are expressing who you are.
Yeah.
So that's the joy in and of itself. So my books were written solely for self-expression. Interestingly, when Desiree passed away, people asked me to write the story because they knew about
Oh.
the way we dealt with it. Her death was on the front page of the New York Times. So
Wow.
yeah, it was, I mean, it was a big public thing. And I said, oh, you know what? I need to find my own identity. Then during COVID, a friend of mine said, you really need to write your story because you learned how to live in a state of joy regardless of the adversity around you. Because Desiree and I had this amazing life. That's what chasing life is all about. And I said, yeah, but you know what? It's been so long now for me to dig up those stories. Well, she had asked me some stories along the way, and she gave me around 20 pages, and I wrote them down.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
so she's my co-author. But the healing that took place for me in writing the books was, and I tend to shy away from the word healing because I don't think we're damaged where we need to heal, but we need
Yeah.
the space more of the recovery and the regrouping and the integration. So
Mm.
what the books did for me were they helped me integrate pieces of myself that were sort of out there and were a little scary, and yet they had emotional aspects and triggers. Even with my father, possibility in action, I had to dive into that a little bit and how that really was rewarding. So as I integrated that, it made me feel, and this is what I say about grief, we fall apart when we suffer loss. And it doesn't have to be a person, it could be erectile dysfunction, it could be the losing of an identity like a job or something, but we fall apart. The role is to fall back together, whole but different. And so those pieces are falling back together, and it's like kintsugi in the Japanese culture with the gold glue that holds everything together. So I integrated that. That's how it helped me, quote, heal. I recovered in that I emerged whole but different with a lot more strength. And what I do say is, if I can be perfectly honest here, grief smells and tastes like crap. it
Yeah.
just is.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
you
It
know
does.
what? Crap is also great fertilizer for growth.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, what was it like living with this amazing woman who lived for 11 years after her diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
Right. And, like, what did you learn about cancer, for example? And I'm asking the question. My sister is dying from cancer, from brain cancer right now. She may have a week or two left. So I'm just curious about, what was it like to live with
Wow.
someone dying from
First of all,
cancer?
thank you for even sharing that because that's very big, and I definitely have to applaud you bringing it up while you were going through it as well.
Mm.
So there's a few things I learned. One, and we'll base this on stoicism, right? The idea of impermanence. this too shall pass means everything, the good, the bad, and all the other
Ah,
stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, so it's nothing is happening to us. Unfortunately, yes, we would like these things to not happen sooner than later, but life is just life. But what I realized with Desiree, and she really was a spectacular person. She just truly incredible. But at some point in time, I had to realize, wait a minute. First of all, I have to focus on Desiree is not the disease. Desiree is the person managing the disease. So cancer is not an identity. And cancer, in our case, we said will be an accent color on the canvas of our life to highlight joy. It was a piece of the the puzzle or the piece of the painting. The other thing, which was huge for me, and there's so many different things, but one with any diagnosis, but we're talking about cancer here, is that we can't hope for a cure. That will destroy us. Hoping for a cure, hoping for something in the future, hoping for something miraculous. What's under your control and what's under my control in those situations with people we love is to hope for the best day possible. And I'm going to give you an example. Desiree, by the end of her life, she loved to travel. She loved the beach. We couldn't do anything. This was a couple of weeks before she passed away, and she was sad. And I said, why don't we just take a taxi to Coney Island, get a Nathan's hot dog, and you can put your feet in the water. And we did. And we took the taxi. She put her feet in the water. She turned around. She said, with a huge smile, then the smile went away. And she said, Robert, I'm in a lot of pain. You need to go home.
Oh.
But that smile was the best we could have done that day. And that was better than any medicine. So that's where our power lies. But in terms of the ups and downs and the uncertainty and all of that other stuff, it's part of the package. When we realize as a person outside of the cancer that we're not there to fix it. We're not there to even fix the other person. We're there to support and we're there to witness and to acknowledge their life that is still in existence. It's very, very hard. I had 11 years of training to do it. So, and my wife was a palliative care doctor. So, I did get a lot of training. But that's what I learned. More than anything else, I learned the two things: to surrender the fixing and to pull hope in the present.
I was just speaking with an Ayurvedic doctor out of India just a couple days ago, and he very excitedly told me that, and if anybody can do what I'm about to say, it's the Ayurvedic doctors in India, that they are in clinical trials with a herb, a root, or something, some kind of a food, because they heal through food, that cures cancer, and they have amazing results. So anyway, something for the future. I'm quite excited about that and it just makes sense. I mean, if we can cure anything else, why can't we cure? I mean, they can. If someone's got arteries that are blocked, arteries to the heart that are blocked, Ayurvedic medicine can unblock it. Yeah. Western medicine doesn't have a way to do that, but we know through Ayurvedic medicine, for example, that it's a possibility. It's real.
Well, Desiree, so her original diagnosis, her life expectancy, they had told me was 3 years, and she lived 11.
Wow.
She had an integrative oncologist, which used both traditional and all the natural stuff. And we spent a lot of time in India as well. We spent a lot of time outside of Chennai. So for many different reasons. But so this was a Texas-born Jewish doctor that followed an Indian guru in Tamil Nadu. So it was a very,
Bravo.
it was all very funny. But so I do believe that there are lots of things we don't know.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, if we are sitting in the future, we're missing the experience with the person. And we're not bringing in the hope for the best day possible that day. Because you know what? We look at somebody in our family or someone and they have a disease, that doesn't mean that they're going to be the ones to die before us.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
life, right?
Yeah.
So make it the best day possible in general.
So that's what I loved about what you said, that that whole piece around finding the joy in everything. I'm using my own language here,
Yeah.
but basically that's what you're saying, right? That even in that type of adversity, we can learn so much, we can grow so much, we can expand ourselves, we can amplify our hearts, our love, and wow, what a blessing, huh? Yeah.
And
So,
Raj, yeah, go
Raj,
one
ahead, Raj.
one more question I'm asking you, because you are so much close with your wife, because it's not easy to, when you lost someone, it's not easy to get over, because
Yeah.
it will take years and years, because I have gone through and my mother lost in a young age. So when did you realize you accepted your wife is completely out of in your life? Because the death is the other part, because that time, because I have gone through that trauma, your mind will not accept your loved one is gone when the day he passed away. It will take
well,
year and years. I I realize I accept after 2 years that my mother is gone. Now she will
I
never come back. So
well,
because
well, well there actually
young,
is something. There is something called, and I forget who wrote the book, but there's a great book called The Grieving Brain. And it talks about how our brains cannot process the loss. Remember, first, my wife had a trajectory. So I was in the trajectory. I was the one sort of living her disease. Second, as a palliative care doctor, she explained to me there's a difference between extending life and extending death. And the third thing was she was the one that decided she asked me to remove the life-sustaining treatment. So it was her decision to pass away at that moment.
mm,
So that type of thing, I was very active in it. I very much accepted that she wasn't there physically, but first, I don't believe you ever get over the loss of a loved one. I do not think you move on. You move forward with,
mm,
move forward with.
with,
I
yeah.
think about her. I think about her every day. I feel her presence every day. I know that the course I'm on is because the love and the pain of her loss is like a beautiful scar etched in my heart. And that has changed my physical and mental structure of who I became because I integrate it. And here it is again. I didn't push the loss away. I didn't fight against it. I integrated it. And we talked a little bit about the resilience before. So let me just give this really quick because I know we're running out of time. In my opinion, we have resilience as bouncing back. Now, I will say, why do you want to bounce back? If something has happened in your life, bounce beyond.
Yeah,
Bounce
yeah, yeah.
beyond that which would crush you. So that's the difference between surviving and thriving. The thriving is life crumbles, there's rubble in front of you, make a new mosaic.
Mm,
And
absolutely.
but that mosaic has the cracks of the event that happened, so you never ever get over that. But
Mm,
Raj, for your point, there is a beautiful book called The Grieving Brain, which talks about how our brain, because it's predictive, and I'm definitely off tangent here because this is not what I don't remember the book well enough, but it's basically we have triggers. And so we'll walk into a house that person lived in, and our brain wants to see that person because that house is associated with the emotion that was connected to that person that's no longer there, and it's very unsettling.
mm,
That's why it's very important to be very conscious of the identity you're building because of, instead of having the event created for you.
well, Robert Pardi, you are a treasure.
This
Thank
was
you
an
for
absolute joy for me, so thank you.
thank you for sharing all your wisdom and opening your heart and Wow, we have lots to learn, and we'd love to have you come back at a future date to discuss more, especially that piece around resilience. We only had a minute to talk about that, but I think you're absolutely right. What is resilience? So let's keep that for another day. And thank you
Definitely.
again for your blessing us today with your company, and we'll see you again soon. And we're going to put all of Robert's information and how you can contact him for his books or his speaking or training systems above the video. So we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.